All hail a beard, it's your boy Big BB, and we are back for another edition of Big Beard Business. Today we are hopping into a list on compliments. Yes, another compliment list. Yes, my friend, that's what we're doing, because on this channel we help men improve their confidence via compliments using the wonderful world of fragrance. And the only way to make that mission come true is to do just that, talk about compliments. And the fragrances that we're discussing today come from the niche side of things. And if you're new to that, essentially what this means is that these houses that we're talking about focuses on fragrance, okay? Not clothes, but fragrance, right? Otherwise, they would be designer. These fragrances are some that I really enjoy, and they've gotten me some good attention over the years or in the time that I've had them. And today would be a great time to introduce you to them. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get down to big beard business. Now, the first fragrance I want to talk about today comes from Jusbox Perfumes, and this one is Good Morning in my best Kanye West voice. Now, let me tell you about this fragrance. If you have not followed me on Instagram, I have mentioned this fragrance as well as Spring Dance within my Instagram stories, but let me give you a little bit more context about this fragrance here. So if you're into oceanic fragrances, those that have that salty sea-like vibe, then this is a fragrance that you may want to try out. Now, this one was created by Dominique Ropion, who has done a ton of amazing fragrances out there, and he's also done Spring Dance. But this fragrance here really provides that blue element in a way that is very different than things that we have talked about on this channel and in the market today. This one does open up bright, it's fresh, it's airy for sure, and again, you have that salty vibe that kind of is brought in by that sea breeze, so to speak. Tangerine is within this fragrance, sea breeze accord, cold musk magnolia, just to name a few. And this one is vegan and cruelty free, so you are wearing a fragrance with a purpose as it relates back to this one. Now again, this one does smell very different than some of the other fragrances that we'll talk about today, but it's unique enough to get the conversation going and someone to say, hey, you smell good, because it's super unique and interesting scent overall. So in the number 10 position, Jusbox Good Morning. Next on our list today, we have a fragrance that's sophisticated, it's rich, it's warm, but it also has a minty feel to it. And the fragrance is none other than that of Enclave from Amouage, or Enclave from Amouage. This fragrance released, I want to say in 2020, or it might have been 2021. I feel like this one was late 2020 that this fragrance released. And this scent here is a really nice scent. Now, if you've tuned into this channel for a while, then you know that we did a kind of house overview with Amouage with Saks. We were there, we hopped into what they had to offer, and the representative there gave us the rich history of Amouage. Now, with this fragrance here, this one really did take a separate twist, and in my mind, more so westernized the Amouage brand here. And when this scent came out, I was really blown away with it. Now, this fragrance does have some of those teen tie bags that you would expect with an Amouage fragrance, with it being classy, with it being sophisticated. There's some spice here, there's some amber, but that mint brought in a really nice freshness here. And then the spearmint within this fragrance is done very different than some of the other mint notes that we talk about within this channel, but this scent here is good. Really nice fragrance here, one that I've come to enjoy more and more, and it's a fragrance that is interesting enough to pique people's attention to say, hey, what do you have on? Spark that conversation and get a compliment in terms of you smell good. Amouage does its thing when it comes down into fragrances, and they have a wide range of fragrances with a rich history, and this was one of those fragrances that will work well for you in the spring and summer. Specifically right now, we're talking about the summer, so let this one fly. Amouage Enclave. Now, the next fragrance I want to talk about today is one that was referred to me by a subscriber. Hit me on Instagram, like, hey, have you tried this fragrance? I was like, no, never heard of it. And they did not let up, to the point where I decided to go out and purchase a sample of it, loved it, and ended up getting a full bottle of it. And this one is Jade Jade888. Now this one is from the house of Hermetica, and I've come across Hermetica fragrances before in Atlanta, but I did not recall this fragrance here. And this one is from the Emerald Stairways collection. And what I do know about Hermetica is that they are a fragrance house that really provides natural feel within their fragrance, and I also believe they are all natural, but don't quote me on that one. Now, this one is an Eau de Parfum concentration, and this fragrance here does a ton well. Like the other two fragrances that we talked about, this one does provide a certain je ne sais quoi in terms of uniqueness in what you get with a fragrance like this. Now some of the standout notes here, you have lily of the valley, ginger extract within this fragrance, and then there's also cedarwood, mandarin, and a pear accord within the scent. This is a really nice fragrance. It's a unisex scent for sure, so don't think that this is going to be an uberly masculine fragrance. In fact, majority of the fragrances that we talk about today will be on that unisex line, as it makes that compliments a little easier for you to get, as Lady may feel like she can wear this herself, and in this instance it makes it easier for those compliments to roll in yet again. Overall, this is a solid fragrance. It's fresh, it's inviting, and again, it's unique enough to spark the conversation and land you into a compliment. Now this next scent that we'll talk about is unique, but I think this is probably one of the most appealing fragrances on this list, although this one is not in the #1 spot. The fragrance comes from the house of Shay and Blue, and this one is Shay and Blue's Blood Orange. Now Blood Orange provides this opulent feel. It's musky, it's fresh as you would expect, and then there's also some citrus components here with a name like Blood Orange. You would expect that, but this scent is super dope. Shay and Blue really hit the nail on the head with this one. There's that blood orange that we talked about, there's leather, there's musk within the scent, and this fragrance here, when we look at what niche fragrances offer in terms of price point, this one here is on the lower end of the spectrum, but it's also an award-winning fragrance. When I look at the house of Shay and Blue, this is one of those scents here that really kind of allowed me to dive in a bit more and be receptive in terms of what they had to offer. So this is a fragrance that I don't think you'll be really upset about. The compliments will come in on this fragrance, and if you needed to reapply, then go for it, because this fragrance as a niche scent is under $100, and I think you really can't go wrong with that. I do feel that fragrance did go up in price from the time that I originally came across this one, which was maybe 2017, 2018, because of Luxe XB, if you are familiar with them. But nonetheless, this fragrance is still under $100. An amazing fragrance, and one that I often come back to because it's not a super popular fragrance. And again, when you're trying to get those compliments to roll in, that's one of the ways that you can do it, is wearing fragrances that aren't your typical everyday run-of-the-mill fragrances that people may be familiar with. They may say, hey, you smell different, you smell unique, you smell amazing. The next fragrance we're talking about today really does just that as well. This one comes from the house of Creed, and it's not one of the more popular fragrances, and this one is Creed's Vetiver Geranium. Now Vetiver Geranium, in most places you look, will be sold out, but I will go through and link it down below at a place that at the very least you can try it out and determine if you want to pick up a full bottle where it's presently available. But this scent is a 2014 release, but this was also, I believe, my 2018 most complimented fragrance of the entire year. This one does, again, something very different. This one does open up bright with lemon, you get bergamot, you also get some Granny Smith apples, and then as you transition into the mid within this, you get some cinnamon, you get some geranium, and then there's also the floral component of rose, and then in the base here you get amber, cedar, patchouli, musk, etc. This scent here is phenomenal. Now this one is part of the Aqua Original fragrance lineup, which the bottles look like this versus what you would traditionally think a Creed fragrance should look like. This fragrance is dope. When I think about people talking about this scent over the years, Jay Copeland was a fan of this one, Kevin Samuels was a fan of this fragrance, and again, we look at the compliment factor that comes along with a fragrance like this, because it is so different than what people have come to expect, and how they compose these notes together was just done in a way that I think is phenomenal and top tier. So if you're looking for a fragrance that again has that fresh element at the top, you get some of that floral components here, and again, this is a scent that could be used in a manner of a unisex fragrance, but it does perform in terms of longevity. It performs in terms of what this fragrance is going to get you in terms of bang for your buck from that compliment factor. Amazing fragrance all around. Creed's Vetiver Geranium. Now the next fragrance I want to talk about is a fragrance that was sent to me from the house of Bvlgari, which is the second fragrance that they sent me over the years, but this one happens to be part of their A.G.E collection, and this one is Bvlgari Tygar. Okay, now this one is supposed to be representative of a tiger's eye, and for me this is a phenomenal fragrance. In fact, when I first smelled this fragrance, I thought, man, this smells similar to my fragrance, the Key, but they're different in their own right. And I think one of the things that kind of gave me that same feel was the ginger within this fragrance, as well as the ginger that's in the Key. They are both pronounced and prominent there, but this is a phenomenal fragrance and indicative of compliments. This one is this woody, fresh fragrance. It does have a smidge of sweetness there, but it's not as mouth-watering as the Key, but nonetheless is a phenomenal fragrance here. I think that this one does have some good performance with it as well, and it does have a nice air of projection with it. Now the Bvlgari bottles, when you get into this A.G.E collection, which is their upper echelon, their higher tier fragrances, so to speak, these are vastly different than what you would get with the Bvlgari Man, Bvlgari Aqua Mar, anything like that. These are different for sure, and you can kind of tell what you're looking at by the presentation. The A.G.E collection looks like a tall standing tower, but then you'll get differences in what the gem is going to be like here in the top. And again, this one's supposed to be reminiscent of a tiger's eye. Phenomenal fragrance, very great in terms of scent profile, indicative of compliments for sure. And it's a fragrance that I think if you have the opportunity to get your nose on that fragrance, for sure, get it, try it out, and determine for yourself if that's going to be the one that you choose from this list. But it's a phenomenal fragrance nonetheless, Bvlgari's Tygar. The next fragrance on my list today is one that comes from the house of Bond, and this one is the completion of their East End series of fragrances, at least at the time it released it was. And this fragrance is none other than that of Shelter Island. Now Shelter Island is looked at as a summer beachy fragrance, but with this one here, as we're talking about fragrances that have high compliment factor, that are going to be niche fragrances that are great for the summer, and this one here is exactly what the doctor order. This fragrance does something very different than a lot of the fragrances that we talked about, as well as it utilizes the note of oud as a main note within this, but it's present in the base of this fragrance, and it's done in a masterful way that really just gets people going when you wear a fragrance like this. Again, like the others that we talked about today, this one is a unique scent profile that's going to make people turn twice and begin to start that compliment and conversational piece, so to speak. And overall, if you're looking for a long lasting summer fragrance that's different and provides a ton of elements that you would love to have within a fragrance, then Shelter Island is one of the ways that you can go. In addition to the oud within this fragrance, you get musk, you get myrrh, you get sandalwood, you get amber, you get some zesty notes here in the top, and then you also get white lilies. Long-lasting summer beachy fragrance that is just phenomenal and very, very on brand for a compliment factor. From the house of Bond, you have Shelter Island. Now this next fragrance brings us down to our final three fragrances on our list today, and this one is part of the drier side of things if we're looking in terms of the scent profile, but this one is listed as a summer fragrance and one of the more popular summer fragrances from this particular brand, but it's unique nonetheless. The fragrance that we're talking about is Nio from the house of Xerjoff. Now this one is a part of their Shooting Stars collection, but when you're looking at the thought process behind this fragrance, they really tell you about walking down the street on a summer day, and that's exactly what you get with this scent. This fragrance is fresh, It's herbal, almost this sea breeze type of feel to it, and a magnificent scent that really gets people going. It's just a standout scent, and it's that way for good reason. With this one being a fresh fragrance as it is, it kind of takes those fresh elements and then it kind of ties into something that's a little more woody, a little bit green, and so to speak, and a fragrance that is just done phenomenally. So there you have it from the house of Xerjoff Nio. Now this next scent here is a fan favorite within my household, and this one comes from the house of PDM, and this one is none other than Sedley. Now if you have not heard me talk about this fragrance, then I'm sure you are new, or you've been living under a rock, or just hasn't been tuning into my videos. And if you haven't, make sure you hit the goddamn bell. All right, this scent here is one that was released twice. When we look at what they were doing here, it was released once. They kind of redid it to ensure that it would last longer, and I've been a huge fan of this fragrance ever since. I wear this fragrance, my son wears this fragrance. In terms of what the house of PDM has to offer for those spring and summer days, and this is a go-to fragrance for sure. Compliment factor is through the roof as it relates back to this scent, and it's one that is mouth-watering, and my mouth is watering as I'm talking about it right now. For me, what they did with this fragrance is took some of those classic elements that you would find in a fragrance, threw them in a bottle, twisted it around, modernized it, and this is what we get here. A fragrance that I am in love with, one that I will continue to come back to over and over again, because not only do I think it smells amazing, people who I'm around think it smells amazing as well, and the compliments do roll in, which again takes back to the point of this channel. And we'll lock it down with the final fragrance here, and this is one of the newer fragrances that is on this list today, but it has the DNA of a fragrance that is legendary in its own right. The fragrance comes from the house of Mancera, and this one is Cedrat Bois Intense, or Intense Cedrat Bois. Okay, this scent here really takes the original Cedrat Bois DNA and takes it to the next level. Boom, blown up. This scent here is just a big boy fragrance. You get something that is citrus, you get that wood component here, but it's also, in my opinion, a little smoother than the OG, what makes it that much more likable. This is a fragrance that is long lasting, it performs, it projects, it gets people going, and that's what we're talking about overall. We're looking at something that embodies all of those things that it takes to get compliments. Projection needs to be there. Yes, people need to understand that when you walk past them, that sillage is there. Is it a unique fragrance? It is, and it's right, but it's also a fragrance that can perform with you all day and all night. I love this scent as well as the OG, and one of the things that I'm seeing about this fragrance, it's continuing to sell out. The people who have had the opportunity to get this one have hit me up after seeing me talk about it or hearing other people talk about it, like, yo B, you were not wrong. If you liked the original, you are going to love this one here. Smooth fragrance, performs, longevity is crazy, and I really love the way that fragrance smells. So there you have it. Those are 10 fragrances that you should be wearing this summer from a niche collection to really start the summer off and end the summer off in the right position with compliments in order. That's all I have for you guys and girls out there today. As always, I'm your boy, Big B. Hit the like, comment, and subscribe. Tell a friend that we are back again. And you already know what I need you to do. Just hit the goddamn bell.